The Senate will come to order. I ask everyone present to please rise and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Apostolic Bishop Deborah Elaine Gauss of the Holy Light Church in Poughkeepsie, New York, will deliver today's invocation. Bishop?
Let us pray. Most gracious and heavenly Father, it is with great gratitude and honor that I stand on the Senate floor to proclaim and decree a prayer and a blessing on these your servants who have been elected to serve the people in New York and the United States of America. As the senators open their session today, I pray that you will be first on the agenda. I pray for an atmosphere that is conducive for love, harmony, peace, and collaboration. Father, I ask that you endow each one with your wisdom from above and bestow on them the character and integrity of my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, who took the posture of a servant leader and said, I came not to this world to be served, but to serve and to give my life as a ransom. Senators, allow the Lord to enable you to lead and to guide the people. Never let, Father, them forget that they were chosen to stand on behalf of the people to make rash and hard decisions that sometimes are not favorable to the recipients. Father, I ask for your wisdom and understanding from you for them, that they might execute right judgment and honest decisions regardless of what their party affiliation is. Father, let them realize with the same judgment that they mete out will be the same judgment that will be meted to them. Cause them to do what is just, true, right, and honest. I pray each senator will be very careful of prideful and arrogant dispositions, because the Lord resisteth the proud, but giveth grace to the humble. When they cannot seem to come to a decision, Lord, cause the senators to lean on you for guidance and godly counsel, because you said in the multitude of counsel there is safety. Give them humble and submissive hearts that is dedicated to the righteous cause of democracy. Senators, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not to your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. God bless you and keep you and cause his face to shine upon you. The Lord lift up his countenance unto you, be gracious unto you, and grant you and your family his excellent peace is my prayer for you today. God bless you.
Okay, Bishop. Okay. Reading of the journal.
In Senate, Sunday, May 19, 2024, the Senate met pursuant to adjournment. The Journal of Saturday, May 18, 2024, was read and approved on motion to Senate adjourn.
Without objection, the journal stands approved as read. Presentation of petitions. Messages from the Assembly. The Secretary will read.
Senator Prasad moves to discharge from the Committee on Consumer Protection Assembly Bill number 4667B, substituted for the identical Senate Bill 932D, third reading calendar 111. Senator Adabo moves to discharge from the Committee on Finance Assembly Bill number 3865A, is substituted for the identical Senate Bill 1965A, third reading calendar 1103. Senator Martinez moves to discharge from the Committee on Cultural Affairs Tourism, Parks, and Recreation, Assembly Bill number 4853, is substituted for the identical Senate Bill 5423, third reading calendar 1132.
So ordered. Messages from the Governor, reports of standing committees, reports of select committees, communications and reports from state offices, motions and resolutions. Senator Gianaris.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. On behalf of Senator Mayer, I wish to call up Senate Print 8409, recalled from the Assembly, which is now at the desk.
Secretary will read.
Calendar number 519, Senate Print 8409A by Senator Mayer, an act to amend the education law.
Move to reconsider the vote by which the bill was passed.
The Secretary will call the roll on reconsideration.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins White, ayes 52.
The bill is restored to its place in third reading calendar.
I offer the following amendments.
The amendments are received.
Amendments to the following third reading calendar bills. By Senator Skoufis, calendar 332, Senator Sepulveda, calendar 553, Senator Stavisky, calendar 774, Senator Scarcell-Spanton, calendar 787, Senator Kavanaugh, calendar 1016, Senator Stavisky, calendar 1058, Senator Mannion, calendar 1069, Senator Serrano, calendar 1135, Senator Holman Siegel, calendar 711, Senator Parker, calendar 966, and Senator Gianaris, calendar 1115.
The amendments are received and those bills will retain their place in the third reading calendar. Senator Gianaris.
Please recognize Senator Lanza for some motions.
Senator Lanza.
Thank you, Senator Gianaris. Mr. President, I wish to call up, on behalf of Senator Ashby, print number 4459, recalled from the Assembly, which is now at the desk.
Secretary will read.
Calendar number 764, Senate Print 4459 by Senator Ashby, an act to amend the state law.
I now reconsider the vote by which the bill was passed.
Secretary will call the roll on reconsideration.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins White, ayes 52.
The bill is restored to its place in third reading calendar.
I now offer the following amendments.
The amendments are received.
Mr. President, on behalf of Senator Rhodes, I wish to call up bill print number 7555, recalled from the Assembly, which is now at the desk.
Secretary will read.
Calendar number 246, Senate Print 7555 by Senator Rhodes, an act authorizing the Friendship Engine and Hose Company to file an application for exemption from real property taxes.
Mr. President, I now move to reconsider the vote by which the bill was passed.
Call the roll on reconsideration.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins White, ayes 52.
The bill is restored to its place in the third reading calendar.
I now offer the following amendments.
The amendments are received.
Mr. President, on behalf of Senator Steck, on page number 32, I offer the following amendments to calendar number 706, print number 5608B, and ask that said bill retain its place on third reading calendar.
The amendments are received and the bill will retain its place in the third reading calendar. Senator Gianaris.
Mr. President, we're going to simultaneously call a meeting of the Rules Committee while we take up resolutions. So let's begin with, I believe Senator Borrello is going to jointly discuss previously adopted resolutions 2062, 2389, 2390, and 2417. So call all those up simultaneously, and we will have an immediate meeting of the Rules Committee in room 332.
There will be an immediate meeting of the Rules Committee in room 332. The Secretary will read on the resolutions.
Resolution 2062 by Senator Borrello, memorializing Governor Kathy Hochul to proclaim May 20th, 2024 as Italian American Day in the state of New York. Resolution 2389 by Senator Borrello, commending Johnny Farina upon the occasion of his designation as the 2024 Italian American of the Year by the New York Conference of Italian American State Legislators. Resolution 2390 by Senator Borrello, commending Bobby Previtt upon the occasion of his designation as the 2024 Italian American of the Year by the New York Conference of Italian American State Legislators. Resolution 2417 by Senator Borrello, commending Greg Gio Giannotti upon the occasion of his designation as the 2024 Italian American of the Year by the New York State Conference of Italian American State Legislators.
Senator Borrello on the resolutions.
Thank you, Mr. President. It is an honor to memorialize Governor Kathy Hochul to proclaim today, May 20th, 2024, as Italian American Day in New York State. As president of the New York State Conference of Italian American State Legislators, I am proud to recognize this day and the contributions that Italian Americans have made to the success of our state and our nation. With approximately 3 million residents of Italian heritage, the most of any state in the nation, the history and culture of New York State has been enriched by the contribution of Italian Americans. Much of the construction of this beautiful masonry work in this Capitol building was the result of labor and craftsmanship of immigrants from Italy in the late 1800s. In the centuries that followed, Italian Americans would progress and go to make important contributions in every aspect of society, every industry from business to public service to the arts, science, and more. Recognizing and honoring that legacy is the goal of today's events. As part of the celebration, we recognize individuals whose contributions have enhanced the Italian American legacy and benefited our state and our nation. This year, we are fortunate to have 3 honorees whose achievements are an inspiring reminder of how far Italian Americans have come. This year's honorees are Greg Giannotti. As a well-known figure from the world of sports media, Greg Gio Giannotti is the co-host of the Boomer and Gio Show, the hit morning drive sports radio program in the New York City metro area that also features NFL MVP Boomer Esiason. We also have Johnny Farina, the quintessential steel guitarist and part of the musical duo Santo and Johnny. Their iconic instrumental hit, Sleepwalk, earned them a golden record in 1959 and has been a soundtrack for over 20 movies, television programs, and commercials. Also, we have Bobby Previtt, who is a classical composer and performer who has stood on stages and collaborated with leading figures in and beyond the music world, including iconic composer John Adams, filmmaker Robert Altman, and maestro Michael Tilson Thomas. They are truly extraordinary honorees. Although they are in the Assembly Chamber being honored right now this afternoon, they'll be joining us this evening at Festa Italiana, where we'll be recognizing their achievements. The proceeds from this evening's Festa are used for scholarships to help 4 exceptional young people for their college costs. And in fact, our honorees this year are Isabella O'Shea from Senator Lanza's district, and Timothy Manzello from Senator Palumbo's district, Sophia Green from Senator Rhodes' district, and from my district, Nina Bartz. Do we have someone, Senator, we have? Oh, hello all. All right. You are here. You still make quick business of it. So with that, Mr. President, I would ask that we could extend the courtesies and privileges of this House to our guests, please.
Thank you, Senator Borrello. Senator Matera on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I want to thank our Senator Borrello for this resolution, how important this is for our happy, very important day, Italian American Day. I just would like to also thank Senator Griffo, also past president, and Senator Borrello, just so everybody understands, he is the president of the Italian American Legislative Conference. I'm so proud to be an Italian American, just like everybody's heritage and everything like that. It's very, very important to me. But I have to mention some special people that are up in the gallery here today. Somebody very, very important to me that I said last year, that is always in my kitchen cabinet for me, that is a mentor to me, is Robert Bob Fonte. I know Bob is here, he's up in the gallery, I think. Oh, there he is up there. And there's somebody that, you could call and get advice from, and it's the right advice every time. And I really, really feel this is the background of him being an Italian American. I know that. I know what it is. Dr. Joseph Scelsa, the president of the Italian American Museum. That's going to be opening up in October. I can't wait to be there for that ribbon cutting. That's right there in Manhattan, Mulberry Street, and how important it is. He put his life into this museum, and everybody needs to make sure that they are there for this, going to be this important day. Anthony Constantopoli, member of the Italian American Action Committee. Anthony, met you last night. It's great seeing you. I thank you so much for all you do. Again, everybody has to remember something. 3.2 Italian Americans are in the great state of New York. Anthony Bonamo, Italian American Action Committee, also that is present here today. John LaPreste, also Italian American Committee, and I thank you, gentlemen, for again representing 3.2 million Italian Americans. Growing up in an Italian household, that there's may he rest in peace, my father, that I miss dearly, and my grandparents that came over from Ellis Island, and they were brought here, and they worked so hard. They worked so hard to have the American dream. And you know what? And it was everything about respect. And that's what I was brought into. Like when I would go into anybody's home, I made sure that I went and said hello to everybody and gave somebody a big hug and thanked them for allowing me to be in their home. Think about, and I'm going to get into this a little bit more because there is my good friend, Senator Bailey. I know he gets in, talks about family and how you talk about how proud you are of everything that you speak about. And it's just like me today, speaking on behalf of my family. My grandfather called Poppy, my grandmother called Nanny. And you sit there and you have your Sunday dinner. That Sunday dinner, you have your gravy. Yeah, it's not brown gravy, it's red gravy. Sitting there with the Locatelli cheese that my mother said, you know how expensive that cheese is? I would sit there with the grater. I would sit there till it went right to my fingernails, watching Abbott and Costello, which a lot of us did. But it was just the most important. You know, you think about that, smelling that gravy being cooked in the morning, and that's what you had for breakfast, meatballs. It was just wonderful. There it is, getting back to my grandparents, both parents. My father, again, may he rest in peace, my dad from Queens, good-looking man, very good-looking man, and my mom, Judy Giovanelli from Island Park. My grandparents, they had a home in Island Park, a summer home, and there's my father, good-looking man. He was a lifeguard. He sees Judy Giovanelli, blonde hair, blue-eye beauty. He sees my mom, takes her, and he throws her in the Long Beach right into the ocean. My mother gets up, smacks him in the face, and guess what happens? My sister comes a year later. It is the Ned Fettuccello, Frankie Avalon story, but this is a true story, and this is what it is, growing up in Island Park. It was just so amazing, going to the St. Gennaro's Fest in Island Park, an Italian community. My mother graduated high school with Senator D'Amato, which they called Tippy, okay? And it was just amazing. She said he was a spoiled brat, but I'm not gonna get into that. But you know what, to our senator, our great senator, but you know what, I'm just so proud to be here today. You know, I could talk so many stories, and we all can, about our heritage and about how, you know, growing up with our families. And I will say this, without our families, we have nothing. We don't. This is a big family here. I got to say one thing. I'm so blessed with our Republican conference, how you guys are a big family, and it reminds me of a big Italian family. Yes, my friends on the other side, too. You guys are great people. You wouldn't be elected if you weren't. I'm just proud to be here. And to my dad, Richie Matera, I know you're looking down. I love you, Dad, and my grandparents. But my father would be so proud of me today that I'm a New York State Senator, because when I became a business agent with the Plumbers Union, he cried like I am today. But all I could just say is, I'm so proud that I'm the honoree today, and I thank you guys so much. I'm the honoree today at the Festa. But I just want to say, why are you laughing? At the Festa tonight, I'm the honoree with the legislative conference. But all I'd like to say is, God bless to all American Italians, Italian Americans. God bless all of our families, and especially God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Matera, and dare I go off script, but your father certainly is proud. Senator Scarcella-Spanson on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I agree, Senator Matera, that was beautiful. I am so happy to join my colleagues today in celebrating Italian Heritage Day here in New York State. We have, clearly to probably nobody's surprise, Staten Island is represented by two Italians, Scarcella and Senator Lanza, one of the biggest and most dense Italian populations in the entire state of New York. My Italian heritage has instilled in me the values of hard work, determination, and importance of never forgetting where you come from. There are countless contributions Italian Americans have made throughout history, not only in my district, but to New York as a whole. From building the infrastructure of the city to the generations of Italian American leaders who have served this state, the Italian community has played an integral part in shaping the New York that we know and love today. I'm proud to represent my Italian American constituents here on Staten Island and Southern Brooklyn. And Senator Matera, like you, I know my dad is very proud, and I think of his grandparents who came here from Italy, opens up their own grocery store, and started what is the Scarcella legacy in New York and in many other states across this country. So thank you, and I proudly vote aye.
Thank you, Senator Scarcella-Spanson. To our guests, I welcome you on behalf of the Senate. We appreciate the heritage and culture you're bringing to the chamber. We extend to you the privileges and courtesies of this House. Please rise and be recognized. Senator Serrano.
Thank you. Let's take up previously adopted resolution 2393 by Senator O'Mara. Please read that resolution title only and call on Senator O'Mara.
Secretary Reed.
Resolution 2393 by Senator O'Mara congratulating Peyton Mullen upon the occasion of capturing the 235-pound weight class title at the New York State Public High School Athletic Association Girls Invitational State Championship on January 26, 2024.
Senator O'Mara on the resolution.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. It's an honor to have here today from my district Peyton Mullen, state wrestling champion from this year. Congratulations, Peyton. Job well done. Peyton has been wrestling for 11 years. She has over 140 wins. She was undefeated this past season, and she's a two-time New York Western Association for Youth state champion. An impressive record. She's just a freshman this year. From Dundee High School in Yates County, she defeated last year's champion in this weight class, who was from Waverly High School, which I would add is also in my 58th Senate district that I represent. She defeated Mackenzie LaForest in 1 minute and 5 seconds. A very impressive record. With Peyton today is her mom, Leslie Mullen, her dad, DJ Mullen, her grandfather, Mike Mullen, and her grandmother, Shannon Schuyler. I just want to take this moment to congratulate all of you on this momentous occasion. Clearly, she's had great guidance from her family. She's had a great coach in Sheldon Gibson over the years, and it's my honor to have you here today to congratulate you on your championship. Job well done. Thank you.
To our championship athlete, we welcome you on behalf of the Senate. We extend to you all of the privileges and courtesies of this House. Please remain standing and be recognized. Senator Gianaris. The resolution was previously adopted on May 14th. Senator Gianaris.
Let's take up previously adopted Resolution 2304 by Leader Stuart Cousins. Read its title and recognize Majority Leader Andrew Stuart Cousins.
Secretary Reed.
Resolution 2304 by Senator Stuart Cousins commemorating the 150th anniversary of the village of Sleepy Hollow, New York on May 20th, 2024.
Majority Leader Andrew Stuart Cousins on the resolution.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. I rise to honor one of the villages that I have an opportunity to represent. As most of you know, I represent in Westchester the majority of Yonkers, the town of Greenburgh, and the town of Mount Pleasant. And in the town of Mount Pleasant is a place called Sleepy Hollow. Now, you all have heard of the legend of Sleepy Hollow. I know, you have to think about that. We were just talking about how we would introduce 150 years of this amazing village, a place where actually on his way to Dobbs Ferry, George Washington actually stayed in the old Dutch church in 1674. But today is an amazing day for the village of Sleepy Hollow, and to be part of this day, we have Mayor Martin Rutnia, we have Deputy Mayor Denise Scaglione, we've got Trustee Jim Husselby, and we have Village Administrator Anthony Giacchio, because they left Sleepy Hollow on this day to come here because this day marks the 150th anniversary of this wonderful, wonderful village. Now, you understand it's on the Hudson, and it has all of the beauty of what small villages have, the shops, and it's an amazing, diverse community. But every Halloween, so you are all invited, about 100,000 visitors come there because it is obviously the legend of Sleepy Hollow's birthplace, but Washington Irving is also buried in Sleepy Hollow Cemetery. So this is a serious attraction, all ages, and everybody is part of Halloween in Sleepy Hollow. It is festive, it is fun, it is not scary unless you really, really want to be scared, but it is such a beautiful community that I wanted the mayor and the trustees and the administrator to come here to receive this resolution and to know that this amazing body celebrates everyone and everything. And when it comes to our history, we are extremely serious. And so villages such as Sleepy Hollow make a difference in terms of tourism, building the economy, and just creating the magic that is so much of New York. So I'm so very, very proud to have you here. Congratulations, Sleepy Hollow, on the 150th anniversary. And just so you know, you don't have to wait till Halloween. Because it's their 150th year, they are celebrating every day of every month. So just let me know when you come into my district, and we will have some great time. So thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Madam Leader. To our guests, I welcome you on behalf of the Senate. We extend to you the privileges and courtesies of this House. Please rise and be recognized. The resolution was previously adopted on May 7th. Senator Gianaris.
Mr. President, let me apologize to our leader. I visited Washington Irving's home last October with my family and did not tell her. I didn't tell her I was going. But it is lovely. I do encourage everyone to go visit. Next up, let us call on Senator Hinchey for an introduction.
Senator Hinchey, for the purposes of an introduction.
Thank you, Mr. President. It is my privilege to welcome, I think, nearly 60 members of 4-H from across the state here to our chamber today. They are led by a number of teachers who are with us, and they're here representing the 89th anniversary or 89th annual trip to the Capitol, bringing 4-H students to meet with their legislative leaders, to see different agencies, and to see the Capitol, to advocate on behalf of so many of the things that we all care about across our state, but most importantly, agriculture and the future of a strong food supply here locally. And so I just want to thank them for being here and for what they do, and for being the future leaders of our state. And I ask that you offer them the privileges of this chamber. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Hinchey. To our young guests, we welcome you on behalf of the Senate. We extend to you the privileges and courtesies of this House. Please rise and be recognized. Senator Gianaris.
Let's take up previously adopted Resolution 2332 by Senator Rollison. Read its title and recognize Senator Rollison.
Secretary Reed.
Resolution 2332 by Senator Rollison, honoring Thomas Pape upon the occasion of his retirement from the City of Poughkeepsie Police Department after 40 years of devoted service.
Senator Rollison on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's an honor today to recognize Thomas Pape on the occasion of his retirement this Friday at 1 o'clock, when he will walk out of police headquarters for the very last time in the City of Poughkeepsie after 40 years of service to that department. And I know it's the custom of this legislature to recognize and honor those distinguished individuals and citizens who would devote themselves to public service, and in Chief Pape's position, demonstrating great courage and bravery and diligence in providing for the care and welfare of the citizens of the City of Poughkeepsie. And within every community, there are those certain individuals who, by virtue of that commitment and dedication, they command the respect and admiration of their community. And in Chief Pape's time on the job of 40 years. I'm talking about the entire community. And it's for their contributions and service on the behalf of others. Now, this legislative body is proud to honor my friend Tom Pape upon the occasion of his retirement from the City of Poughkeepsie Police Department, again, after 40 years of devoted service. And Tom Pape joined the City of Poughkeepsie PD 1 year after I joined the town of Poughkeepsie PD. He joined in 1983. His career spanned all of the divisions within the police department, both in patrol and detective. He was a supervisor in patrol, the traffic division, community policing unit, and the neighborhood recovery unit. In 1984, Tom was promoted to sergeant. He assumed duties in the narcotics unit and special units. Rising through the ranks, Thomas Pape was recognized for his hard work by being promoted to captain, where he had oversight of all the specialized units in the detective division. And then, Mr. President, in 2016, my first year as mayor, I had the honor of appointing my friend to the office of Chief of the Police. And under his able leadership, he oversaw department operations, budget, and oversight of a job of approximately 100 sworn officers and 25 civilians. Now, Thomas Pape is a very humble individual. And the fact that he is even here today, Mr. President, I am honored and absolutely amazed that he would come up here to be recognized, because that is not how he has served that community. Never looking for accolades, never looking for recognition, just always doing what's right for the people of Poughkeepsie. So his numerous commendations of awards over those 40 years speak volumes of who he is. But just one other part of his career. The City of Poughkeepsie Police Department was one of the first jobs in the state of New York to embrace procedural justice and implicit bias. And members of the City of Poughkeepsie Police Department who were trained in those two very important topics for police officers actually trained police officers throughout the entire Hudson Valley, when some of those terms weren't even known to other departments in the way that the City of Poughkeepsie embraced it. And when the governor, then Governor Cuomo, created Executive Order 203 for police reform, the majority of the mandates that the governor wanted to see police departments do, the City of Poughkeepsie was already doing under his leadership. I hope we can pause in deliberations today to honor Chief Thomas Pape upon his occasion of his retirement. And, Mr. President, would you please extend the courtesies of this House to this chief? He's leaving the job on Friday after 40 years of service. Thank you, Mr. President.
To our guests, we thank you for your service and welcome you on behalf of the Senate. We extend to you the privileges and courtesies of this House. Please rise and be recognized. The resolution was adopted on May 7th. Senator Gineris.
Let's move on to previously adopted Resolution 2240 by Senator Clear. Read its title and recognize Senator Clear.
Secretary will read.
Resolution 2240 by Senator Clear, commemorating the 99th birthday of Malcolm X, an advocate for human rights and one of the most influential African-American leaders in history.
Senator Clear on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yesterday, I spent a reverent and wonderful day in the 30th Senatorial District celebrating the 99th birthday of Malcolm X, a singularly important Black liberation leader of our times. Malcolm X may have been born in Nebraska, but many of the most essential events of his life happened in the village of Harlem. He spent part of his transformative youth in Harlem from 1943 to 1945. He returned to Harlem in the 1950s to lead Temple No. 7 on West 116th Street in Harlem, which today is known as Masjid Malcolm Shabazz. And it was upon a return to Harlem, sadly, he was assassinated. The birthday of Malcolm X is one of the most important annual events in parts of my district and throughout other parts of New York City. And that is because Malcolm's journey and evolution has not only inspired billions of people worldwide, but so many of those people lived the very same experience, took the very same steps, fought against the very same racism and injustice, and have paid the ultimate price, much like Brother Malcolm did. As we are here in New York, begin to ponder the question of reparations with the first meeting of the New York State Community Commission on Reparations Remedies coming up on our annual around Juneteenth this year, we can see in the history of Malcolm X the history of so many. Born with the surname of Little, house torched as a child, father killed while Malcolm was a youth, every door closed to him, despite massive intelligence and motivation, feeling that the only path left open for him was to hustle in the streets. It was that experience eventually that allowed him to speak clearly, truthfully, forthrightly, and without compromise about the condition of Black people in the United States and why moderate, incremental approaches were not preferable, nor would they bring about the desired goal of equality. As Malcolm X said, I have no mercy or compassion in me for society that will crush people and then penalize them for not being able to stand up under the weight. History and human behavior has proved so much of what Malcolm X said and preached to be correct. His 99th birthday was yesterday, but his legacy lives on. His teachings live on. His vision lives on. And as thousands celebrated Malcolm yesterday for showing and showed love and respect for him on his birthday, we know that we have so much further to go to realize the world he was talking about in the 1960s. And I'll leave you with this quote from Malcolm that has always rung clear with me. If you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. I proudly vote aye. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Clear. Senator Sanders on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank to Senator Claire for bringing such a timely resolution forward to speak of Malcolm X, El-Hajj Malik El-Shabazz, the human rights leader. He was not so much a civil rights leader, my friends, as a human rights leader. A very misunderstood character in the American history. If we understood him, perhaps we would understand more about ourselves, and I guess we have a journey to take. He admitted to having fallen himself from a place of respect and a respectful family to the gutter. He was one of the worst at one point that we have seen. While in prison, he was known as the devil. He was so outraged, but he managed to turn himself around. He managed to find a belief system that allowed him to turn his back on drugs, turn his back on crime, turn his back on all of those horrible things that hold people back, and became something magnificent, something great. He was a human rights leader who at the end of his life, and I pause for a second to tell you that it's important to read the entire story. If you only read a portion of his life, you will come away with a vast misunderstanding. Toward the end of his life, he was starting to speak of the unity of the human family, and he said he would stand with anyone who stood for justice, of any color who stood for justice. I urge you to take it upon yourself and do some more reading. He went from the gutter to being considered, as one writer spoke, our shining black prince, a possibility of what we could achieve, what humans can achieve in spite of all of the obstacles that they found themselves in. I also urge us to, there is a civil rights law that will allow us to look in on his assassination. And we should actually, I've spoken to the DAs of Manhattan and said that they should look into that assassination. A civil rights law, I think it's Medgar Evers law, allows you to look in on these matters to solve them, even to this day. To Malcolm, who is 99, and I say is because he lives in the hearts of those who understand him, who love him and love America and love the possibilities of America. To Malcolm, who is 99, to his enemies, to the ones who took him out, I will only remind them of what he said. And he said, every shut-eye ain't sleep, and every goodbye ain't gone. Thank you very much for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Comrie on the resolution.
Madam President, I want to thank Senator Claire for bringing this resolution supporting the 99th birthday of Malcolm X. I was sorry I got here late. I wanted to congratulate Senator Matera on his being honored today as an Italian American and honoring the Italian American community for everything that they did to assimilate and come to America. You know, it's interesting, the stories are not asimilar. The Italian American story and Malcolm X's story of dealing with the issues that they faced, the Italian American community coming here and not being recognized and respected, fighting for their respect, fighting for their place in the country. Malcolm going through everything that he has gone through, as it's been so eloquently stated by my colleagues, coming from poverty, coming from a single-parent home, going to jail, being a criminal, finding a new way, finding an opportunity to, through education and understanding, becoming a better person, a person that wanted to create a better world in his own way, working through the anger and frustration and bitterness, going from that to becoming a preacher, a leader, a humanitarian. As Senator Sanders said, there's a lot of things that have not been said about Malcolm because people only want to focus on the negative. I'd rather focus on the positives, that we are all trying to make a better world. People get there in all different ways. People try to find their place through whatever background, whatever starting point they come from, to try to figure out a way to make life better. I honor Malcolm because he understood that there was a major issues in the 60s and 70s. And through redemptive suffering, he urged his followers to defend themselves. He didn't take any shorts from anybody. He criticized anyone that did not try to understand Black consciousness, Black power, and the need for bringing people together. After he went on to his privilege to Mecca, he completely changed his mind about how to talk to people, how to work with people, and abandoned his belief in violence. He began to focus on a true brotherhood, a true hope for people of all races. He was one of many people that inspired a generation to fight for principles enshrined in the Constitution for all peoples. And while some may only remember his aggressive approach to getting things done, we all must remember that he had compassion for what he stood for. He had an understanding of what was needed, and he tried to express himself by every means possible to bring us to a better state. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Senator Bailey on the resolution.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Senator Claire, for this resolution. In many ways, Malcolm X is like the American dream. From Detroit Red to being one of the most regarded civil rights advocates, activists ever, human rights activists. From a life certainly destined for tragedy at one point to being triumphant. That is, in fact, the American dream, Madam President. And we've often opined what happens when a dream is deferred, and Langston Hughes and James Baldwin said that to be a Negro in this country, to be relatively conscious, is to be in a constant state of rage. But Malcolm X, instead of letting his dream be deferred or being in a constant state of rage, channeled that positivity. He passed away at the age of 39, much like Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. And people often want to do as they are wont to do when it comes to powerful Black individuals. They want to pit each other against them. They want to say you are either in the Malcolm camp or you're in the Martin camp. And that's a false dichotomy, Madam President. As we know, as we read in the last couple of years, that famous quote that was said to be by Martin Luther King about Malcolm X was in fact false. Even though the two brothers only met each other once in life, their goals were aligned, which was for equality, not just for black people, but for all people. And so when Malcolm X said, by any means necessary, I wanted us to think about that in a contextual way, Madam President, not just violence, or not just bearing arms, or not just doing things that it's fine for other folks to do. Think about it by any means necessary. By virtue of education, and my favorite Malcolm X quote, education is our passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to the people who prepare for it today. Rest in power, Brother Malcolm.
Thank you. The resolution was adopted on April 16th. Senator Gianaris.
Madam President, all of the resolutions we took up today are open for co-sponsorship.
The resolutions are open for co-sponsorship. Should you choose not to be a co-sponsor, please notify the desk. Senator Gianaris.
There's a report of the Rules Committee at the desk. Please take that up.
Secretary will read.
Senator Stuart Cousins from the Committee on Rules reports the following bills. Senate Print 15 by Senator Gurnard, enactment of the Social Services Law. Senate Print 451 by Senator Gianaris, enactment of the Vehicle and Traffic Law. Senate Print 1023 by Senator Cooney, enactment of the Cannabis Law. Senate Print 2067 by Senator Stavisky, enactment of the Tax Law. Senate Print 2096 by Senator Thomas, an act in relation to authorizing the County of Nassau assessor to accept an application for a retroactive real property tax exemption. Senate Print 3512A by Senator May, an act in relation to authorizing Christopher Walzer to take the competitive civil service examination. Senate Print 4061A by Senator Mannion, an act in the correction law. Senate Print 4273 by Senator Lanza, an act in the vehicle and traffic law. Senate Print 4520A by Senator Stuart Cousins, an act in relation to authorizing Lawrence Ecker to receive certain service credit with the New York State and local employees retirement system. Senate Print 4563 by Senator Skoufis, an act in the highway law. Senate Print 5291A by Senator Skoufis, an act granting retroactive Tier 4 status in the New York State retirement system to Dana Krastansky. Senate Print 5361A by Senator Mannion, an act granting retroactive membership with Tier 4 status in the New York State teachers retirement system to Peter Guarnarino. Senate Print 5530 by Senator Brooke, an act to amend the Veteran Services Law. Senate Print 6251A by Senator Matera, an act in relation to authorizing the Hall Site Fire District to file an application for exemption from real property taxes. Senate Print 6457 by Senator Brunson, an act directing the Department of Transportation to conduct a traffic study and planning study on the feasibility of transforming the Harriman campus in connection with the relocation of the Wadsworth Laboratory at Harriman. Senate Print 6202A by Senator Webb, an act to amend the military law. Senate Print 6696 by Senator Parker, an act to amend the social services law. Senate Print 7254 by Senator Kazarian Fitzpatrick, an act to amend the vehicle and traffic law. Senate Print 7409 by Senator Breslin, an act to amend Chapter 453 of the laws of 1977. Senate Print 7501 by Senator Martinez, an act to amend the Veteran Services Law. Senate Print 7600 by Senator Hinchy, an act to amend the Public Health Law. Senate Print 7684 by Senator Chu, an act to amend the Education Law. Senate Print 7713A by Senator Stavisky, an act to amend the Education Law. Senate Print 7779B by Senator Brooke, an act to amend the Public Health Law. Senate Print, 8118 by Senator Gurnardis, an act to amend the Education Law. Senate Print 8374A by Senator Prasad, an act to amend the Social Services Law. Senate Print 8505 by Senator Harcum, an act to incorporate the Bedford Hills Fire Department Benevolent Association. Senate Print 8535 by Senator Gonzalez, an act to amend the Public Authorities Law. Senate Print 8575 by Senator Ryan, an act to amend the Public Service Law. Senate Print 8640 by Senator Ryan, an act to amend Subpart H of Part C of Chapter 20 of the Law of 2015. Senate Print 8703 by Senator Hinchy, an act to amend the Navigation Law. Senate Print 8783A by Senator Scarcella-Spanton, an act to amend the Labor Law. Senate Print 8827A by Senator Bailey, an act to amend the Election Law. Senate Print 8860 by Senator Gallivan, an act in relation to authorizing the town of Eden to alienate and discontinue the use of certain parklands. Senate Print 8989 by Senator Skoufis, an act to authorize Lee Weinstein to receive certain service credit under Section 384-D of the Retirement and Social Security Law. Senate Print 9104 by Senator Gonzalez, an act to amend the State Technology Law. Senate Print 9140 by Senator Comrie, an act in relation to directing the Department of Health to conduct a study relating to the opening of a public hospital in Southeast Queens. Senate Print 9163A by Senator Breslin, An act authorizing the Praise Tabernacle Church of God to receive retroactive real property tax exempt status. Senate Print 9218 by Senator Martins. An act to amend the Nassau County Civil Divisions Act. Senate Print 9486 by Senator Thomas. An act to amend the real property tax law. All bills report to third reading.
To accept the report of the Rules Committee?
All those in favor of accepting the report of the Rules Committee signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The report of the Rules Committee is accepted. Senator Gianaris.
Please take up the calendar.
Secretary Reed.
Calendar number 111, Assembly number 4667B by Senator Dinowitz, an act to amend the general business law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the 90th day and shall become law.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 57.
Bills passed.
Calendar number 120, Senate Print 564A by Senator Kavanaugh, an act to amend the banking law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the 30th day and shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 120, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Ashby, Borrello, Kenzari Fitzpatrick, Gallivan, Griffo, Hellman, Lanza, Matera, Murray, Obaraker, O'Mara, Ort, Palumbo, Rhodes, Rollison, Steck, Tedisco, Weber, and White. Ayes 38, nays 19.
Bills passed.
Thanks, Bob. Calendar number 247, Senate Print 7861A by Senator Martins, an act in relation to authorizing the County of Nassau assessor to accept an application for a real property tax exemption.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Announce the Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 247, voted in the negative, Senator O'Mara. Ayes 56, nays 1.
Bills passed.
Calendar number 254, Senate Print 5905 by Senator Brisport, an act to amend the real property actions and proceedings law.
Read the last section.
Section 4, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 254, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Ashby, Borrello, Kenzari Fitzpatrick, Gallivan, Griffo, Hellman, Lanza, Martins, Matera, Murray, Obaraker, O'Mara, Ort, Palumbo, Rhodes, Steck, Tedisco, Weber, and White. Ayes 38, nays 19.
The bills passed.
Calendar number 259, Senate Print 1110A by Senator Comrie, an act to amend the executive law.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 259, those senators voted in the negative are Senators
Announce the results.
Senators Borrello, Gallivan, Hellman, Matera, Murray, Obaraker, O'Mara, Ort, Rhodes, Steck, Tedisco, and White. Also, Senator Ashby. Ayes 45, nays 13.
Bills passed.
Calendar number 621, Senate Print 585A by Senator May, an act to amend the election law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 621, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Morello, Canzani Fitzpatrick, Gallivan, Griffo, Helming, Lanza, Martins, Matera, Murray, O'Mara, Ort, Rhodes, Steck, Tedisco, Weber, and White. Ayes 42, nays 16.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 700, Senate Print 2477C by Senator Hoyman Siegel, an act to amend the labor law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the 180th day, it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 700, those senators voting in the negative are Senators Ashby, Borrello, Kinsey Fitzpatrick, Griffo, Helming, Lanza, Martins, Matera, Murray, Oberacker, O'Mara, Ort, Steck, Tedisco, Weber, and White. Ayes 42, nays 16.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 829, Senate Print 799 by Senator Comrie, an act to amend the Social Services Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 829, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Borrello, Gallivan, Griffo, Lanza, Matera, Murray, Oberacker, O'Mara, Ort, Palumbo, Steck, Tedisco, Weber, and White. Ayes 44, nays 14.
Bills passed.
Calendar number 830, Senate Print 7185 by Senator Parker, an act to require the Office for the Prevention of Domestic Violence to conduct a study on domestic violence in the transgender community.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Senator Helming to explain her vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am supporting this bill, but I'd just like to bring to this chamber's attention that it still is shocking to me that here in New York State, we do not have domestic violence shelters located within each county. We still have several counties that don't have a safe place for women and their children who are being abused to go to. I think that should be a definite priority that this body looks into when we look at the budget next year. I'm voting in favor of this bill. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Helming to be recorded in the affirmative. Announce the results.
Ayes 59.
The bill's passed.
Calendar number 890, Senate Print 2695B by Senator Harkam, an act to amend the General Municipal Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 890, voted in the negative, Senator Bridgeport. Ayes 58, nays 1.
Bills passed.
Calendar number 916, Senate Print 4743 by Senator Webb, an act to amend the Education Law.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act shall take effect on the 1st of April.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Senator Webb to explain her vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to again extend my appreciation with regards to this legislation to our majority leader and, of course, my assembly sponsor, Assembly Member Kimberly Jean-Pierre. This has been an initiative coming from higher ed with the goal to increase representation throughout SUNY, more diverse representation, to grow folks at the most senior level across our SUNY campuses. We allocated last year and also in the budget we just passed money to implement this program, and so there are 7 members who are part of the cohort from all across the state, and it is a great leadership initiative through SUNY. As a SUNY alum and also a former educator at SUNY, I appreciate the work that SUNY is doing to make strides when it comes to this important issue of inclusion and equity within our SUNY university system underneath the leadership of Dr. King. And so with the launch of this institute, we are continuing to make important investments in the success of future leaders I vote aye and encourage my colleagues to do the same. Thank you.
Senator Webb to be recorded in the affirmative. Announce the results.
Ayes 59.
Bills passed.
Calendar number 937, Senate Print 160A by Senator Hoyman Siegel, an act to amend the judiciary law.
Read the last section.
Section 4, this act shall take effect on the 90th day and shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 937, voted in the negative, Senator Martinez. Ayes 58, nays 1.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 942, Senate Print 7001 by Senator Borrello, an act to amend the Uniform City Court Act.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 59.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 980, Senate Print 3552 by Senator Breslin, an act to amend the education law.
Read the last section.
Section 4, this act shall take effect 2 years after it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 59.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1004, Senate Print 1901A by Senator Stavisky, an act to amend the criminal procedure law.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 1004, voted in the negative, Senator O'Mara. Ayes 58, nays,
The bill is passed.
excuse me, Senator O'Mara in the affirmative. Ayes 59.
Bill is passed. Thanks.
Calendar number 1015, Senate Print 333 by Senator Jackson, an act to amend the multiple dwelling law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 1015, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Ashby, Borrello, Kanzai Fitzpatrick, Gallivan, Griffo, Helming, Lanza, Martins, Matera, Murray, Oberacker, O'Mara, Ort, Palumbo, Rhodes, Rollison, Steck, Tedisco, Weber, and White. Ayes 39, nays 20.
The bill is passed.
Thanks. Calendar number 1040, Senate Print 4742A by Senator Cooney, an act to amend the alcoholic beverage control law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the 60th day and shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 59.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1103, Assembly number 3865A by Assemblymember Gunther, an act to amend the insurance law.
Read the last section.
Section 4, this act shall take effect on the 1st of January.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 59.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1104, Senate Print 2266 by Senator Kruger, an act to amend the penal law.
Read the last section.
Section 5, this act shall take effect on the 1st of January of November.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 59.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1132, Assembly number 4853 by Assemblymember Ramos, an act to amend the Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 1132, voted in the negative, Senator Oberacker. Ayes 58, nays 1.
The bill is passed. Senator Gianaris, that completes the reading of today's calendar.
Returning to motions for a moment, on behalf of Senator Comrie, I wish to call up Senate Print 1087, recalled from the Assembly, which is now at the desk.
Secretary will read.
Calendar number 432, Senate Print 1087 by Senator Comrie, an act to amend the Public Authorities Law.
Move to reconsider the vote by which the bill was passed.
Call the roll on reconsideration.
Adabo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins, White. Ayes 59.
The bill is restored to its place in the third reading calendar.
For the following amendments.
The amendments are received.
On behalf of myself, on page 18, I offer the following amendments to Calendar 421, Senate Print 150, and ask that said bill retain its place on third reading calendar.
The amendments are received and the bill will retain its place in the third reading calendar. Senator Gianaris.
Is there any further business at the desk?
There is no further business at the
I
desk.
move to adjourn until tomorrow, Tuesday, May 21st at 3 p.m.
On motion, the Senate stands adjourned until Tuesday, May 21st at 3 p.m.